All right. I mean, I think that gets us good into the next topic about conspiracies.
Yo.
All right. So let's just start about this. I think most woke people, like legit woke people, will have this phase, right? They get hectically into fucking conspiracies.
When did you start on it?
So basically, what's the one conspiracy everyone starts with?
Illuminati.
Oh, I was about to say 9/11.
Oh shit, no.
9/11 was my first one.
Mine was always Illuminati.
Really?
Because like when I learned about or like heard about Illuminati, I was just like looking into it, and then I think back in that day Zeitgeist was pretty like big, and then out of that came like 9/11.
Yeah, I heard about 9/11 first, right? Jet fuel can't melt steel beams. But yeah, I think 9/11 was the first one I heard about, and I mean, I don't think personally on that one, I've done a lot of research about it. I don't believe. Okay, so I think so let's just first, before we get into that, right, the whole our real thing, let's just first start about how we got into conspiracies and everything, and then how valid are conspiracies, and then we can talk about our theories and shit like that, like get it all fucking crazy and stuff. So basically, I got into 9/11. And I'm like, holy shit, this stuff's crazy. Then obviously it connects to the New World Order, Illuminati, and then you just see more and more and more stuff, right? And basically that was my grade 9 phase, grade 9, 10ish, right? I started getting really woke, but then it was
same time.
Huh?
That was the same time.
Yeah, everyone, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like you had the internet, and it's like now you want to be woke, right? It's like you just want to like it was cool, but then it's like it turned into more like, wow, this is like so interesting. Like, is this real life? Because you think life in the government is so boring and lame. Like, who gives a fuck about politics and shit?
Yeah.
But this spices everything up, right?
Because it puts in like, depending on what direction you go with your conspiracy theories, right? It brings in like sci-fi and shit like that too.
Yeah. So it's like, whoa, this is real. Like, this is better than a movie, even, right? And then I think I got to something where I think I got to a point where I was like, okay, are these seriously the fucking conspiracies? I think this is too much. I think I'm reading this shit too much. I need to stop. I need facts and data, right? Like I got to that point where I need facts and data. But it was only recently, like 1 or 2 months ago, I started getting back into conspiracies, and it was literally because of history itself, right? And basically, I got back into conspiracies because you're reading history, you're reading the shit, and then you realize, like, dude, conspiracies are real. Like, there's a lot that have been proven true. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it gets creepy as fuck, man. Like, sometimes I get so paranoid. I'm like, dude, they're fucking gonna get me.
It's like
I'm finding out the secrets.
It's like some stuff that you would expect is real, but it's like been denied, and then you find out that it's been like proven, like Martin Luther King getting assassinated by the U.S. government.
Yeah, like
shit like that. It's just like, yo, what the hell?
The FBI sent him a letter to basically commit suicide. Like you're a piece of shit. You should just kill yourself. Fuck you and stuff. Like, they literally sent a letter like that. No, that's real. There's a real thing about it, right? So I think what's crazy is like people don't believe. So like like conspiracy, like for example, right? So this is a real history. I was just literally last night. I just thought about like I was watching the movie Imitation Game. I watched it in theaters. A really good movie. But basically, what the whole thing about is during World War II, the German army used this thing called Enigma. It's like an uncrackable code. It's fucking crazy, right? Like you can't uncrack it. Like the way there's. So basically, like, you need the code, right? And you put the code in, and for each letter, it'll give you another letter. Like, it's very complicated, right? There's like 150 million possibilities of what the codes could be, right?
Shit.
So basically, this guy named Alan Turing, he made this like basically like the first computer ever. It wasn't digital or anything. It's basically like these motors. They would calculate and do like mathematical reasoning or whatever, and it'd give you the code, right? And so they cracked it. So they knew these big plans that the Germans were going to use, right? But the problem was now, though, is that they cracked the code. But if they started off of every single intercepted message, so if the Germans were like, we're going to attack this army here on this day with this formation, right? And then that army, right, so the Americans, they quickly went back, or they were prepared, right? Then it gets so suspicious, right? So the MI6 made a deal with these guys, like only 6 people and like 3 people in MI6. Not even Winston Churchill, no one in the government even knew that Enigma was cracked. So for 5 years in the war, no one knew that this code was cracked, and basically MI6 would feed fake information, would feed this information to them slowly. It was a huge conspiracy that basically won the war. People think that it was the two sides, all the shit. Like, no, there was a huge conspiracy of how the war was actually won. It was because of them knowing that, and only later did the the government and stuff finally figure out that this stuff was actually happening. But behind, like, there's people, entities bigger than the governments.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like MI6, for example.
Like the Illuminati.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about this Illuminati now. All right? Do you believe in the Illuminati? No matter how bogus your theories are, just tell them.
I just feel like I believe in, you know, how they started saying the powers that be, and I started believing like in not a theory that like the rich and powerful rule the world, not as like this satanic cult and stuff. Whereas like, I don't know though, because of the Bohemian Grove, like what Alex Jones went into the Bohemian Grove and all
like
that.
Like he saw that shit for real.
Yeah,
like
yeah, and he recorded it, and they were doing some fucked up shit. And then he interviews Gergen, I forget his first name, but he was like an advisor to 4 presidents. And then the guy just gets all defensive. He's like, you took an oath if you were in there to not say anything. It's like, yo, what are you trying to hide that's like so fucked up?
See, the way I look at it is like, look at throughout history, right? Like, these are perfect examples, right? I have my notes here because I came prepared, man. So look at the mafia, right? Yeah. The mafia is a secret society, basically, right? Like, the mafia never talked about who it was. There's no paper trail ever. It was so hard to convict these guys because there's no proof of there's actually a mafia. But we all know there's a mafia. It was like an unspoken thing. But these guys wanted to control power. They wanted to work behind the scenes, right? They never put themselves right on the front pages of the newspaper. True. They worked behind the scenes. Then look at like cartels and stuff, right? Like drug dealing cartels. They're behind the scenes. They're like this secret organization. It's like huge power, huge amounts of money trying to do any of their influence, right? Yeah. So obviously I believe that there's this group of people basically trying to pull the strings of making things go a certain way, right? Yeah. I mean, Alex Jones straight up said like they're trying to basically make the Matrix. Right? Like basically end people's consciousness and just make being stupid, right? Which it kind of does make sense to me because
it already, like, you kind of already see it because like nowadays everyone's just so tied to like phones, iPads, whatever, right? They're already stuck in that's their reality now. It's like anything can be going on right now, but you give this kid an iPad and he'll be like going.
Yeah, like I think there is a slow death happening to consciousness, right? Like people aren't thinking higher. They're not thinking with a more purpose. They're just like really concerned about their dumb lives and just doing dumb shit, right? Instead of thinking abroad, thinking of bigger horizons, right? And there is like been a killing of essentially consciousness, right? Yeah.
Yo, one more like conspiracy thing I wanted to get to. This is when I stopped believing in that shit. You know, remember 2012, like the world was supposed to end? There was like that theory about Planet X. Nibiru? Yeah. I was so heavy into that where I just, like in school and stuff like that, anything I would do, I would just sort of give a shit anymore because I'm like, I was so convinced in 2012, December 12, 2012, the world's over. I started a new job, right? And we were off before December 12th. I was just like to my coworkers, I'm like, December 12th, like, watch out, something might happen. They probably thought I was the biggest dumb, stupid fuck. Like, how did we hire this idiot? And then nothing happened. I'm like, I fucking believed in that so much. Like, for what?
That must have turned you down to, like, fucking conspiracies forever. You're just like, fuck these guys.
Yo, like, to, like, these extreme conspiracies where people are just pulling at facts. Like, oh, mind calendar, this, that, the Bible, this. It's like, yo, I don't even believe in any of that shit. Why am I caring about what they're saying?
Dude,
right?
But you know what?
But that shit, it got me on some heavy stuff. Like, I used to listen to Coast to Coast AM radio. Did you ever listen to that?
No.
Okay, so it used to come on late nights, right? So 10 to 2 a.m. And that's all they talk about, conspiracies. They would interview like Jordan Maxwell. Alex Jones used to come on. They would just like talk about this shit, right? There's this one guy's name is Stephen Quayle, and he would talk about giants. And he's like, the giants are real. In this, like, just watch out. You're gonna start hearing news stories about this matter that no one can like describe. It's just popping up everywhere. You're gonna start seeing them, these huge giants who can run at 60 miles an hour in 2 steps. And I was just like, oh shit, and they eat people. And then you're gonna see King Tut. And then you're gonna see King Tut. And then I was like, yo man, that's fucked up. I used to tell people at school, I'm like, yo, this is what's gonna happen. And then I was just like, yo, fuck it. And then a few years later, that show came out, Attack on Titan. And I was like, yeah, I bet this guy just got the script of this and started reading it up. I'm like, yo, what the fuck?
Yo, that's a good idea for fucking conspiracy. But
you dumbasses like me would believe it.
I like having conspiracies that are grounded, that have like a lot of bases. So one of the ones is like, I'm not sure how significant this is to people, but Josh, he doesn't know about it. I was going to explain to him on the podcast. Basically, there's this podcast. Not a podcast, a conspiracy. Excuse me. It is called the light bulb conspiracy. I'm not sure if anybody knows about it, right? Basically, it's this theory about how all these like major companies got together. Philips, I don't know what of the other. I just know Philips is one of them. But basically, they got together and
General Electric.
They started. No, what they did was they started cutting the life of bulbs, so that it's called planned obsolescence.
Planned obsolescence.
Planned obsolescence. So basically, your fucking product or whatever you buy stops working after a while.
So they're like designed to fail.
They're designed to fail, essentially, right? And the reason why this thing is so powerful, because Germany during World War II had light bulbs that would literally last forever, and there are light bulbs from 1900s, 1902. It's a light bulb called the Centennial Light. You can search it up, right? It's still glowing till this day. Right, that's almost 100 years it's been glowing, right? Other light bulbs, they die after like 20,000 hours, 2,000 hours of use, right? Now it's getting better, but basically they're still like, look, because if you think about it, like they're like, oh, the more watts it is, it won't run out. But at the same time, you're spending more money on electricity, so at the end, you're still like, they're still getting the money either way, right? And I think, and so there's this huge thing. There's this thing called the Phoebus cartel, where all these, it was actually called the Phoebus cartel because one of the Switzerland companies called Phoebus, they made this thing and they basically like monopolized like light bulb making so that they can make giant profits off of it, and they would fucking just crush any other person that would like try to get in. Like this one guy from Germany, he made a light bulb that would last like so long, right? It was like 5 times longer than regular ones. This guy went to go file his patent, right? While his patent was getting filed, this guy died on an airplane, like in a crash. Shit. And his patent got dissolved.
Then that's another conspiracy theory, that every time someone's gonna expose something, or there's like a collective of scientists always die, it's always on like an airplane.
Yeah,
and then it's
so
like
shady.
How many times are you gonna just believe that story, right?
Yeah,
like Robert Kennedy died on an airplane too, right?
Yeah, but all the Kennedys were killed. If you believe that shit, that was just by magic.
That was
you're
by
a fucking idiot, man. JFK gets killed, Robert Kennedy gets killed, and didn't that little kid Kennedy get killed too?
I don't know.
Like, what do you call JFK's son? You know JFK's parents were in the mafia?
His dad, Joe Kennedy? That's what Alex Jones guys were
Yeah, dude, they were in the mafia. Like, that's some crazy shit, man.
That's fucked. And then his son becomes a president.
I mean...
It's like a video game.
I mean, like... I don't know. How does he become president? I don't know. But it's so crazy. And, like, another one that's been proven to be true is, like... Basically, the whole Iraq war, like the one thing about 9/11, how basically I believe that America did it, right?
Allowed it to happen.
I believe they allowed it to happen. I don't believe they actually did it. I believe George Bush knew it was gonna happen, and they allowed it to happen because throughout history, three examples of
Operation Northwoods is the first one that comes to my head.
Yo, I wrote that down.
You were gonna talk about it?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about Operation Northwoods and Operation Ajax, but. Basically, one thing they do is
even so-called, like, you can bring it into, like, even though it happened and everything, even like Operation Blue Star.
Yeah. Exactly. We'll come back to that, but basically the examples is Vietnam. America said that the Vietnamese fucking like torpedoed 2 of their ships, and now they have to go to war.
Yeah.
Right. Then the second one is during World War II, right? When the Nazis and the Soviets had that little peace agreement, the Soviets wanted to take over Finland, and they dressed up Soviet soldiers as Finnish troops and started shooting at and killing Soviet troops. Like, they basically got Soviets to kill Soviets to start this war against Finland, which they lost. Right?
Soviets lost against Finland?
Yeah, they lost in the
Was it German occupied?
No, it wasn't. It was by Finland.
Oh, yo, I heard about. There's this sniper from back then. I don't know if you heard of him.
He has the most kills.
Yeah,
he has the most confirmed kills. Yeah. He has the most confirmed kills.
And just sniping.
It's because it was winter and they were like way adapted to the terrain, which is why they won essentially. True. But still, to go, like, they did false. I don't even think Pearl Harbor was actually. I think the Japanese did it, but I keep like what bothers me about that is Pearl Harbor made no sense. So basically, Pearl Harbor, the Japanese bomb Pearl Harbor, where America enters the war. What doesn't make sense is about that is it's not like they bombed Pearl Harbor and they were gonna occupy it and then start a mainland invasion onto America. They literally just bombed it and kicked.
Yeah.
There was no real and the ships, apparently they're like, oh, they were gonna bomb the shit out of the fleet and then do something, but half the ships are missing. Your reconnaissance planes would have figured that out. Like, there should have been 11 ships there that day. There was only like 3. The other ones were in like Britain helping out the war on the other side.
It's like this was like nuclear arms race, right?
No, this was before World War II. During World War II.
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor, yeah.
But then it's like, what reason could that have? What reason could it be that they want to jump into war?
My theory about this is my theory about what happened was that America knew that they were so late into joining the war that they could reap the most benefits. Because Britain was doing this thing called Lend-Lease. Britain and the Soviet Union were basically like, America would produce weapons, boots, food, trucks, bullets, right? Yeah. For Britain and the Soviets, and they had to pay shit ton of money, man. Like they had to pay billions of dollars of money because they're lending, right?
So that was America's.
Like, America was making money off this, and then they're like, if we get on Europe, right, and we win the war, we'll reap the benefits. Ever since World War II, they won. They've been putting they have over like 700 bases around the world. They still occupy parts of Germany. Like people don't know about shit like this, right? So basically, I believe that they made a deal with like fucking some background people in the Japanese regime, like some like people behind the scenes who knew that Japan would have no chance against the Allies. Because one by sometime or another, the Soviet Union's too large to beat. Hitler fucked up, so I feel like they were just like, yo, it's about time until the Soviets come after us when we fuck.
You don't
right?
think the Japanese had a chance? Japanese were ruthless, man.
They were, but the Soviets were fucking crazy, man.
Oh, that's true.
They were crazy. They were just like stupidly crazy. But the problem is that the Soviet Union were coming off more mainland. When they were doing island hopping, so basically they would attack each islands that were occupied by Japanese, right? There would be mass casualties because you have to invade. But on land, you just have to push forward, right? Right. But islands, like you actually have to invade the island, have a like a fucking landing and stuff, like D-Day. And it was D-Day over and over again because there was like island hopping 7 islands and shit, right?
So, but you're saying like the Russians were getting slaughtered?
No. I feel like what happened was that Japan higher ups made a deal that will fucking...
No, about the island hopping thing. Like Russians would invade Japanese occupied.
Yeah, they were gonna invade them because Manchuria was under Japan. Yeah. Soviet Union took over Manchuria. Oh, it was all
Manchurian candidate and shit.
Yeah, so they just straight went and took over Manchuria. Like it was not hard work for them, even though Japanese people were fucking crazy and shit, right? But I believe that what my theory is that I don't know if you guys want to search it up. There's like no basis for this theory, but I feel like throughout history there's patterns and stuff, and you can recognize. I feel like Japan, the like people behind the scenes, the regime recognize that they could benefit too after the war, because if they are on the losing side like really bad, they're not going to get anything. They're just going to be like, basically they're going to be occupied, right? The way America occupied Germany, but instead Japan has one of the biggest economies today. It's all because of World War II. Because after that, America helped rebuild Japan, really helped like push their economy, and Japan's doing so well today. So I feel like there's some correlation between the two. Do you know what I mean? I fucking love conspiracies, man.
Yeah, for real.
Right? But there's some historical like backing. But what really had me go on to conspiracies again is the fact that some are true. Then it's just like, holy shit.
Because like when you look at Operation Northwoods, right? That's such a fiendish plot.
Why don't you explain it to the people?
I don't know it too in depth.
Okay, so basically there's the Cuba one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Congress wanted to, or no, I'm not sure about somebody.
It was someone who had to get an okay from JFK.
Yeah. So it's like somebody wanted basically to go to war with Cuba, and the public opinion was like, nah. A lot of people were like, nah. So basically what Operation Northwoods was is the CIA was gonna basically kill American civilians and say it was by Cuban people and to start another war and go invade Cuba.
And I think it involved bombing a plane as well. And then I think Joe Rogan mentioned that it was a drone piloted plane. I'm like, they had fucking drones in 1960.
Okay, dude, they've had crazy technology. I know you just watched me pour the Coke, seeing if I'll
no.
Yeah, I fucked up. Got some a little bit. But basically, like, they've had crazy technology. People don't understand. There's this Operation Paperclip, right? Is this operation where
That's the German Nazis.
Yeah,
right?
They brought Nazi scientists, like hardcore Nazis, to America to start NASA. Yeah. Right? So NASA's foundation is built on Nazi scientists of people who killed the Jews. Yeah. Right? And one of the what's his name? Rudolph or some shit. I don't remember his name. But he created in World War II on drone rockets called the V1 and V2. They had launch sites and they just launched and they would basically like hit, right? They would hit into fucking Britain and stuff, unmanned. Yeah. Right? They had this technology in World War II, man. Unmanned drones and stuff. Jeez. So think about when the Americans and the British were knowing about this, how much they were trying to like speed up the process of making even better stuff. So I think people don't realize that this stuff is really scary because they probably have something crazier than drones right now that we just don't even know about.
It's like, just bringing it back to Northwoods, right? It's like, as long as there's a bigger threat out there, like something that they can propagate as a bigger threat, they'll do anything at their risk to stop that threat, right?
Yeah,
like think about it. Like, if you think about that, they would do that in the 60s, like risk American lives to go to war with Cuba to get rid of communism. Then what's to stop them from doing 9/11 to jump into Afghanistan to get whatever they wanted, which is like opium fields and this thing called terrorism, right?
Yeah. So Operation.
And like adding on to that, it's like 1984, like the book, right, by Orwell. And they say like you create an enemy that can never be defeated, right? And what can be defeated today is terrorism, because as long as you're gonna keep bombing these countries, right, there's gonna be so-called freedom fighters or so-called terrorists or whatever you want to label them. They're always gonna keep rising. Yeah. So you're never gonna have a way to just exterminate terrorism.
George Washington was a terrorist. The founding fathers.
Yeah, exactly, of America, right. They were rebels. Yeah. It's like, so to the British, these guys were terrorists.
Yeah, but really now they're like gods among the Americans.
And like that's what they wanted to propagate him as, was a god.
Yeah,
it's like
like some of the paintings and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I don't know if you Senate in the Capitol. There's like he's in there. He's like all angelic and shit. Like,
did you watch that Freemason documentary on the History Channel?
No.
Oh, they were talking about it on.
Oh, really? I just know like one of my
because
he
was
buddies,
a Mason too.
Yeah, me and my buddies were talking about that. I don't even know what a Mason is. I don't ever get figure that out. I don't understand.
Freemasons?
Yeah.
So that's like when we were talking about secret societies. This is like the most well-known one that people don't know shit about, because they've had their hand in so many things. And they have so many like powerful members. Like George Washington was a member.
Yeah.
And they have had like British members, like the original Illuminati, like the Weishaupt in them.
One?
Yeah. They were Freemasons. And they say like Freemasonry dates all the way back to the Egyptian times. And some people say it's a more modern time. Some people say from the Templars. And it's just like this powerful fraternity of men who like, they go into rooms and they have like these rituals. And it's just like fucked up shit. And this isn't even like nut job conspiracy theory anymore, because like they've been under so much scrutiny that they've let like documentarists come in and like videotape what they're doing. And so you can like Google it, like high def documentaries and shit on History Channel, and you can watch that stuff. And it's just like, what's the point of all that? Like, I don't get it.
Okay, so I think we'll talk about that later. I want to remember that theory I was telling you about Malachi.
Yeah.
The children one.
Yeah.
So, because that's a huge one, right? That's been true. But there's another one called Operation Ajax, basically, I touched on before. Operation Ajax is basically, there was this leader, this communist leader in Iraq. Basically, he was like really pro a lot of good things, but the CIA made him bad and they toppled him and put in a dictator instead who was pro-West and started fucking killing his own people and doing all this crazy shit.
Iran or Iraq?
In Iraq. It says is a coup. They staged a coup, right? Like America has been involved in destabilizing, fucking up countries. Like I used to think like, go Hillary, we need to defeat Trump and shit. Now I'm like, thank God Hillary is not in fucking office, man. She's a terrible human being. Like, she would have fucked up the world like so bad, right? So I think we can get to the biggest one of all, the fucking conspiracy of silence. Do you know what I'm talking about?
It rings a bell, but I don't know.
It's the Podesta stuff.
Oh,
Pizzagate and shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so here, would you want to explain what you know?
No, you know better, because I heard recently that the shit was debunked.
Okay.
But then I never really believe in debunking things, because who's debunking?
Actually, before we get into that one, there's another one where the U.S. government, medical researchers intentionally infected hundreds of people in Guatemala with syphilis and gonorrhea without their knowledge.
And not even in Guatemala, they did it in the U.S.
Yeah, they did it to African Americans. Yeah, it was called the... Fuck, I've got the name here somewhere. It was called the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, right? Where they gave like syphilis to people, and then to see the effects of it. And even after they found a cure, which is penicillin, they never gave the cure. They just let them die, so they could take their bodies and just see what's up with them.
This leads me to another conspiracy theory. This is sort of modern, right? I don't know if you know who Dick Gregory is.
Heard about him.
He was a comedian, and he was a civil rights leader, and he has so many conspiracy theories behind him just because like he's seen this shit happen, right?
Yeah.
He ran for presidency, right?
Is he black?
Yeah, he was black. And then he ran for presidency, and he's like, you know how I know they're rigged? because back then there was someone that they paid to rig one of the machines for, I forgot whoever his opponent was, to give him so many votes, right?
Yeah.
And the results came in that they gave Dick Gregory 1 million votes. And he's like, that's when I knew that something's going on. Because who the fuck is voting for me? That's what he's saying, right? And then about like the bodies, right? You know, I don't know if you remember, I think it was in Atlanta that one kid died and he was rolled up in mats in a school.
No clue.
No? Okay, so they sort of rushed it. They did an autopsy, right? And then, but his parents are like, no, we want the body exhumed. We want to see what actually happened. They dug up his body. His organs were missing. Really? Stuff with newspaper. And they're just like, yo, what's going on? And he's like, what do you think happened to Trayvon Martin, right? And then they were like, I forget the names because I suck at that shit. But he was connecting it with like the biggest coroner in Florida and all that. And he's like, they're killing these kids. And even in the drive-bys, they're killing these kids because they want to harvest their organs and shit like that, because that shit goes for millions of dollars on the black market.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yo, man, I never, like, you think about it like on the, I don't want to say surface level, but if you want to think about it as like a race issue, whatever, right? You won't get to like these other things, like they're selling their fucking body parts and shit. Like, how gruesome is that?
But there is a huge market for that. People like the black market.
They take
is huge.
Especially like he was saying that they take them to China and do it because apparently it costs. You get more money there, right? I was just like, man, this shit is just fucked up.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, because like if you ever go deep internet, it's the most fucked. It's so scary how
deep
much
web?
bad shit the deep web is. Yeah.
Oh, you've been on that shit?
I'm too scared.
Yeah, I'm too scared because I heard a story that someone they can just take your computer over if you're not careful.
Yeah, not only that, like they can find out here, they can access your cameras, they can kill you, like kill family members and shit. Like it's fucked up. Like you can hire hitmen and stuff. Like it's some fucked up, crazy, scary shit, man. Like and it's real. Like it's not even like we're just shutting some shit.
Yeah, you
like,
can just Google it. And
don't go on the deep web, man. There's like this program you get to get on the deep web.
The Onion thing?
I think it's something like that. But don't do it, man. I recommend everyone not going on the deep web. It's fucking scary, man. But okay, so now we're gonna get to the conspiracy asylum. So basically, so like for example, like the church has been involved in pedophilia amongst little boys for so long. Like this is a fact that we know about, right? It's been established. There's no like, oh, is it true? It's true. We know for a fact that there's crazy amounts of pedophilia happening in the church, right? It's the reason the last pope before Pope Francis had to leave. Like how that's so crazy that
they were saying that
basically resigned. That doesn't happen.
The new pope like held evidence against him and like blackmailed him pretty much.
Yeah. Right? I mean, I don't know about that because Pope
that's
Francis
what Alex Jones said. So
yeah, but I mean, Alex Jones knows what he's talking about. Like, you guys definitely should check out the 9/11 podcast, 911 by Joe Rogan. That shit will open your mind. Like, it's fucking crazy because Joe Rogan's a very factual guy. Any of his other stuff, he's like, give me facts, give me proofs. He has a show called Joe Rogan Questions Everything, right? And he's not convinced by shitty things. Like, he wants real proof. And Alex Jones comes in with facts. So the conspiracy of silence is basically this huge ring of child prostitution that was being run by super high officials, like highest, like it went up to levels of George Bush Sr. Like it reached up to his level, right? And then it got like they did cases and stuff against it, and it was totally debunked, like, oh, it's not true and stuff. But then what ended up happening is that now it is like basically becoming true that this shit is fucking happening, right? So for example, there's a guy named Sandusky, right?
Jerry Sandusky.
And do you want to tell us who he is?
Yeah, so he was like assistant coach, I think, at Penn State, and for the Penn State football team. So that's a pretty like reputed program just because of their head coach Joe Paterno. And basically what happened was they were saying that there was rumors about this guy like touching kids or whatever, and then but they were always like sort of, what do you say, like written off, I guess. Because he was doing all this. Yeah, he was a charity worker and stuff like that for kids, especially. And then they're like, how could this guy be doing that? But then it was. Side
note: some of his charity work included taking like poor and disenfranchised kids, like orphans and shit, to rich people's houses for overnight stays.
Yeah, to show them how the real life is, right?
Yeah, like to show them shit like that.
But the thing is, like, this guy was discovered, I think, by like a custodial worker in the locker rooms raping a kid, and then they were just like, what the fuck is going on here? And then like, I remember the first day that this kind of news was breaking out because I came home from school and then they were talking about it on Sportsnet, right?
Really?
And they're like, this is the most disturbing thing I've ever heard. That's what they were saying.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, what the fuck are they talking about? He's like, and then they started describing what the custodial worker was hearing. And he's like, I was in the locker rooms and I heard like a rhythmic tapping. And then I looked around and I saw Jerry Sandusky with a kid bent over, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. And then there's even like one of the ex-speakers of the House of the fucking thing, his name's Dennis Hastert. He's also a convicted serial molester, right? Like, it's fucked up shit. And then he's connected with these people high up in the Democratic thing called Podesta, this guy named Podesta, Anthony Weiner,
yeah.
right? And if you see the leaked emails, so Pizzagate basically is that from the leaked emails, Hillary Clinton's leaked emails, right? There's this constant reference thing called pizza, right? Like pizza, but the FBI has a bunch of code words for like what these words mean. Like walnut means a colored person.
Brown colored person.
What do you call like sausages or whatever? Hot dogs means kids, yeah. Guys.
But the hot dog thing, even Joe Rogan searched it up, and he's like, they were having a hot dog eating contest there, and it was like an article about it. He might have ordered, but
it's still a known thing, right?
Yeah.
Like hot dogs and stuff, right? There's a bunch, and like sauce means this, and it's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
Like there's one sauce means like blood, and like ranch means like special sauce.
Oh shit!
Right? And then basically Pizzagate was like they had this there's this occurring connection to pizza, so they thought it was this democratic pizza place called like Comet Pizza or whatever, and they're like there's like symbolism too of like satanic ass shit, right? And so some guy went and like shot it up, right? And they're like, oh, see, Pizzagate's untrue, it's not. But basically that's not what they're pointing out. What they're pointing out is there's this huge ring of fucking high up Democrats who are engaging in this child prostitution stuff, and it's proven these connections. Like some of these connections are legitimately proven, and just like 2-3 weeks ago, 474 fucking pedophiles have been discovered in California and arrested. And like hundreds of kids have been being freed. Yeah. Like this shit's actually happening. It's so fucked up, right? That this stuff is like coming out to light. So the conspiracy of science was true, right? This huge crazy thing that was happening to kids, it actually turned out that it wasn't a lie.
It's messed up because like I go back to South Park, right? I don't know if you ever remember the NAMBLA episode. Mm-mm. And NAMBLA is a real like organization. It's like National Association for Man-Boy Love. Mm-hmm. And like pedophilia, right? But it's like consensual, so it's apparently like accepted. But then like NAMBLA's whole MO is like they take the youthful energy from the child so that they can relive it, right? And I'm just like, yo, that's so fucked up. Like, what is that? I don't understand.
What was the South Park episode about?
They were just dissing NAMBLA. And they were just like roasting. Because South Park, like, they always they'll take like a real life issue and just destroy it, right?
Yeah, like Scientology.
Shit on Scientology, like World of Warcraft, like all that shit that was around it. And then apparently they did one on Pizzagate. I don't know.
Did they?
Yeah, apparently, like recently too.
That's fucked up. But so now I want to connect to this guy named Malachi Z. York. All right, I think you know more about this because I mean, like, I'm always trying to. So why don't you give a little background on him, because you were the one who first told me about him.
I'll give a background how I got into like discovering him. Right?
Oh yeah.
So I used to listen to a lot of Wu-Tang, right? Mm-hmm. And then out of that, like, I just pretty much viewed Wu-Tang as like a genre, because like at that time I would listen to anything else, even Tupac, Biggie, Nas, and I would say it's whack because Wu-Tang's way better. Mm-hmm. And then there, like, out of the Wu-Tang family, there was always like Sons of Man, Kill Army and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then out of Sons of Man, there was Killer Priest and Shabazz the Disciple, and then they were into like really like black nationalist stuff. Like Wu-Tang was 5%er, and then Sons of Man got into Black Hebrew Israelites. And then the thing was, like, I really like Killer Priest, but then when I started opening my mind on music, like I started listening to Outkast. I didn't like Jay-Z, but the relation was still there. I noticed that they had this Egyptian symbolism, right? But it wasn't quite Egyptian. And then so I looked into that, and then it all went back to this guy named Malachi Z. York. And they would all shout him out in their songs. Like even Jay-Z, you can see like the kind of clothing he's wearing early in his days. And even Mobb Deep, like they were all part of, I don't want to say worshipping, but they were like followers of Malachi Z. York. And pretty much like from my perspective is like he had a following. Maybe you can call him a cult leader, but he did a lot for like his people. He bought out buildings that weren't like being used, and he built a community in the Bronx. initially, and then it was a self-sustaining black community, which is like legit, and you have a leader doing that. And then he got to the point where he had a lot of like enough money to move to Atlanta, buy a plot of land, and pretty much build.
It was in Georgia.
Yeah, outside of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Georgia is.
I don't know exactly where. I think I have the fucking place, but continue.
Okay, sorry, but in Georgia, let's say. And then he pretty much built like a model of Egypt there, and they called it Tamaray. Yeah. And that again was like another self-sustaining community of black people. And out of all this, I mean, you can say it was jealousy, you can say it was the truth coming out, but one of his kids came out and started saying like, oh, he's a pedophile, and they got the FBI involved. But the thing that I always found funny is like the FBI got involved, they seized his land. Like for what? He bought that land. That was his land.
Yeah, well, they said that his funds or the way his funds were gathered, like he would get people to basically sell shit off the street. But what I found was crazy is that I read that after he made Tamaray, right? Hopefully maybe I can figure out how to fucking edit videos where I can put the picture of what the Tamaray looks like, or search it up, the Tamaray, Tama-RE. It's basically like a bunch of pyramids and shit. It looks fucking crazy.
Sick. It's gone now though.
Yeah, they completely destroyed it. The sheriff's office, they destroyed it. But basically, when they built that, that's when the FBI started cracking down on them. Yeah. Right? It's like these people, like there's some crazy shit going on. And what I wanted to tie, when I said in video, this is my own theory, right? What I feel like, I was talking to Jasjit about it too, is basically like these Democrats and Republicans that fucking rape children, essentially, they have this satanic belief like they can gather essence, and then the Nambla thing as well, right? They want the child's innocence, and this guy was acting like
not innocence. They have like the same thing that you're saying with the Republicans and Dems. It's like there's this power in the kids that they want.
Yeah. And like, and we're talking about like the sauce, the blood, and like the semen and shit like that, right? It's really fucking weird, right? But I think that like the fact that it's real is why we're talking about it. We're not talking about it because some like goofy ass foofy shit, man. Like this is real life that's happening. Like there's some devil stuff, weird devil shit going on, right? So essentially, my theory was that I think all these people that are enlightened and that think they're enlightened, like Malachi Z. York, believe that there's actual real power in children to get, right? Because why is this like, why? Because my original thought was pedophilia only exists when it's like you're denied women, right? Like it's like, so you like the priests, right, in the Roman church, like they're not supposed to marry and stuff, so it's like, oh, we will fuck boys and stuff, right? So that's what I thought where that came from. But then it's like there seems to be this power thing with it, right? Like they believe like they can get something out of it, like a sort of like power from these children and stuff. So, and it's like this weird connection that I've been making, because it's like Malachi Z. York seemed like this prophet. He's like, he's half alien, he's half this, and he has like this crazy ancestry and stuff that's not even proven. And how come he's doing it, and then you have these fucking weird ass white dudes that are also doing it? Like why is there this weird connection there, right? Why are they both doing it? It's like Malachi Z. York was known for like having sex with his followers, right? Women, right? Like
he had the right to all the women.
Yeah. So then how come he's going to pedophilia as well, which just didn't make sense to me, right? And then I mean, I believe he did do it because of that theory, that like he believes there's some power to it. But like it's just like, but why was the FBI cracking down on them so hard when the Tamaray was built?
It's funny, like we can make an excuse for why he did pedophilia, or like why
there is no excuse. I don't. Yeah, but I think like, my theory is why he believed it was good. Was that thing.
Fair enough. It's like, but at the end of the day, these guys are just like fucked in the head, man. And then again, when you go to Malachi Z. York, when they ask him why did you touch kids, right? First, I think he denied it, and then he started saying that from where I'm from, because he claims that he's a reptilian from this planet named Risk. He says that where I'm from, the laws of the land are different than what they are here. So he's trying to justify that, oh, your laws don't apply to me.
Yeah.
And then like his followers to this day are saying that Malachi Z. York that said that isn't the real Malachi Z. York, and that he was drugged, and then this happened and that happened. It's like there's so many excuses that at the end of the day, man, just admit what you did.
Yeah.
And they're like, they registered 50 cases of pedophilia on this guy.
The most in U.S. history.
Yeah. And they scaled it.
I think it was more.
Yeah, something like that. And they scaled it down to about 12, just so that they say that for realism, that it was more realistic. And then that's one of the points that his followers, especially his kid Prince York, use as like yo, how can they do that? If there's 50 cases, register the 50 cases, right?
Yeah.
And why are you scaling them back to 12 to make it more believable?
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah. Okay, so one of the other things I want to talk about, though, is like...
Lots of work going on. I sound so bad on the...
you want some cocaine, bruh? No, I'm joking. It's Coca-Cola, guys. It's totally fine. Coke is also one, man. I just realized, like, Coke was not only a medicine first. Wasn't there like cocaine actually found in Coke?
Apparently there was.
And it was like actually a medicine back in the day. Like, it's fucked, man.
They used to use heroin as a medicine back in the day too.
Yeah, and cough syrup.
Yeah.
No, cough syrup.
They
should put in alcohol, I think.
Heroin was in cough syrup, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So here's another one I just thought of. Like, there's so much real. This one I'm about to say is totally proven. During the Prohibition, the CIA would put poisons in alcohol so that people would learn their lesson and not drink alcohol.
Jeez.
Can you believe that? And
yeah,
then, like 10 years later, it's legal again.
Yo, it's funny.
How stupid is that?
Yo, when we go back to illegal drugs, right? The CIA is like proven that they were like. Remember the reporter who proved that the CIA is the ones who were bringing cocaine into the fucking country?
Oh yeah.
And he committed suicide. And
that was
CIA,
contra cocaine trafficking.
And the CIA admits it, right?
Right. Like this.
But that shit, it wasn't limited to the fucking 60s, 80s and shit. That shit's happening right now because when the US went into Afghanistan, they took over the fucking opium fields.
Yeah.
And the production of world opium went from about 7%, I think they were saying, to fucking 93%.
And that statistic, it isn't like they started just making that much output. Afghanistan supplies the world.
Yeah,
93% of the world's heroin and opium essentially comes from Afghanistan, with plantations, crops owned by the Taliban, protected by American troops. The Taliban plant these fields, they harvest them, they grow them, and then they're protected by American troops.
Have to protect them, like as part of their occupation there. And then you wonder why the Russians tried to go in back in the day. They
have just had fucking crazy ass opium. Remember in The Godfather 2? The guy, no, Godfather 1, this guy, fucking this Russian, this Turkish dude. He comes to the Godfather with like, oh, I'll give you heroin and you can sell it, make so much. And they're like, what's your, like, how do you pump, like, what's your plan, like, processing process? All from Afghanistan, then takes it to Italy, gets it like manufactured and shit, and then brings it to America, right? So I mean, it's just so crazy. And the mafia, that's another fucking crazy one, man. Like the mafia, like American government has been in cahoots with the mafia so many times, right? And then you think like really the government is lawless, man. They actually have no laws. They just do whatever the fuck they want.
Like the government is the ultimate.
I feel like Trump is like, I don't even know how Trump got in because Hillary tried to rig the election, right?
But the thing was, this is what Alex Jones was saying, but I don't know, like I never researched it, but he was saying that Hillary purposely like pumped Trump because they thought that was an easy opponent. They're like, no one's gonna vote for fucking Trump. We'll sabotage Bernie because he's an actual like threat to us. Trump is not a threat. We'll pump him, and then it backfired and they got fucked. Yeah,
that's so funny. But basically they proved that like the top hacking expert in America proved that hacking this chick, right? She has a documentary about it too. Shit. That you can hack these machines, and they tried to do this one episode where it's like, they said it's so impossible to hack voting machines, and they kept going through. I'm like, fucking, have you not seen House of Cards? You just fucking put a chip in there. Like, it's not that hard. Like, you just have to have like a trapdoor fucking programmed, and you can hack this shit. Like, they're acting like it's so impossible, so much security. I'm like, they're fucking at schools, dude. Yeah. They're not doing them in like an Area 51s and stuff.
That's so true. Like, you go to the only time I ever voted, right? We went to the fucking rec center and there's no security, nothing there. You can just walk in.
Exactly. So there's like definitely.
But that was write-ins anyway.
Yeah, but they're definitely stealing votes, man, and like just cheating. Like, how are they acting like it's not true? There
was a guy, I think I mentioned him, Jordan Maxwell, right? And he was saying that when these election polls, they're election polls. That's what they're gauging, like the country is who they want to win, right? But ultimately they decide who they want as the president on their own.
I think Trump is the real like deal.
I think so?
No, I mean like as in like he's the real democracy that got voted in. Like that was legit.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
do you think that's why like the media is against him and shit?
I think of course, man. I think what do you call, the media is dying, right? They're dying, like they're about to be done, right? Like podcasts, fucking YouTube videos and shit. They get way more views than the news now, right? In 15 years, news is gonna be obsolete. Radio is gonna be obsolete. No, they can't keep up. They're done.
They're trying to.
They're trying, but they can't. It's impossible. Like you're done. Late night shows will be next. Like a lot. TV will die.
It's pretty much. It's gonna all turn into like a world where content is just made by fucking people.
Yeah.
And they're just the ones putting it out there.
Exactly.
It's not going to be these news like CNN, whatever, BBC and shit. They're just going to die.
Because like ever since Trump has gone to office, that whole pedophilia ring is starting to get unraveled, which is crazy, right? But like, you know, those emails, right? They implicate Hillary into that shit. Like everyone's like emails. All these liberals are like, emails. You're good. Just shut the fuck up. These emails have nothing, right? Yeah. But when you go through the emails, there's some really fucked up shit. Like Alex Jones was talking about. Like one of them was like, we'll have the kids in the pool. One's 9, one's 11, one's 5, and they'll be waiting there to give you entertainment. And it's like.
In the fucking hot tub.
Yeah, it's shit. Like, okay, you can't. These are all legit emails. We know that for a fact. But like, you read that, you're just like, okay, this is definitely some fucked up shit going on, right? There's no way this is not fucked, right?
Like you said, you think Trump is a real deal? I don't think so. I think they're all fucking bullshit.
I don't think. Like, look at Trump. Like, he fucks foreign chicks. She's not into kids. First off, right?
But I don't care about that.
But I'm just saying, like
he's still a fuck.
I think he's I don't know. I'm waiting. I'm not gonna come up. I'm not gonna say anything, right? You know, Alex Jones knows his shit. He's just like, wait, man, this guy's gonna fuck you. So much crazy shit's gonna happen. And I feel like the Muslim ban, a huge conspiracy that we'll find out in 15 years that this is a cover up. This was like fucking. We're gonna go after a certain type of people. Like I think there's a completely 180 ulterior motive behind this, right? I don't ever believe what the media says anymore because they're just full of shit.
I never did,
right? And I think that's like one of the conspiracies. Like, so I think I'm gonna have to wait and see because I'm not gonna come to my facts about that yet because people don't realize that Obama, when the whole Kentucky thing happened, Obama vetted 35,000 Iraqi people that were already citizens in America.
What Kentucky thing?
There was like this a terrorist plot that happened in Kentucky. These 2 Iraqis did it. They vetted 35,000 people, and now they're vetting like 500,000 refugees, immigrants, forever. It's just a numbers game right now.
It's because like the media is liberal, right?
Yeah,
and CNN
also,
and all that shit, and then they're obviously gonna criticize Trump because he's the other side. He's their competitor, right?
Yeah, and by the way, those 7 countries that Trump picked were all countries that were on Obama's list for like, you have to watch them. Yeah. Right, like Sudan.
And these were all countries that Obama like ordered attacks on too.
Yeah, right.
Yemen, whatever, Somalia.
Like, would you rather not be allowed to get into America, or would you rather be bombed by America? Like, what's a better option? Do you know what I mean? Like,
but I mean, if they're not allowed, they're gonna get bombed. I mean, the bombing, it didn't stop.
I mean, I feel like Trump is actually going to be posed with a huge problem because I said this, I think, on like one of the podcasts where these militants, these kids have grown up under drone attacks, fighting in this basically the Arab Springs, and now they're 22 years old. They all know it's America's fault. Like, it's public knowledge that America fucked the Middle East over, and now they're filled with rage. Who are they going to take their rage out on? America. Like, they're sick and tired of it. And now who's in office? It's Trump. And you have these kids, so basically 10 years ago, let's say, 2017, 2007, you have these 12-year-olds who are getting bombed, who are getting like basically terrorized, right, by terrorists, the American terrorists, and now they're like 22, right? So they're fully like Tupac says, he's like, a man has between the ages of 19 and 25 to exert real change. After that, they just become whatever, right? And they're basically in that time frame. And the thing that's dangerous is that they have this crazy view of Islam to basically propel them and keep them going forward, right? It's not a conspiracy anymore. Like, this shit's real. Do you know what I mean?
Yo, that's fucked. I never thought of it like